Alright, what's up everybody? So here we are. This is the final video of this series, and what we're going to be doing here is the final steps in transferring what files I've already created for this particular website of Faro Quality Construction. I'm going to be up front. This is by far going to be the most tedious steps coming up, but on a good note, this is the home stretch, and after these steps everything will be, the hardest work will be over. The web server is configured, it'll be hosting our live page, and everything from that point out will strictly be, alterations and designing of the actual web page, which is a whole nother subject. And depending how these videos go over, I spent quite a bit of time today. But I've enjoyed it. Hopefully somebody, if anything, one person gets something out of it, I guess it'll be a job well done on my behalf. I'll be happy. So we're gonna jump right into it. Final video, and also in the description I will include a lot of these commands and things we're gonna be doing. Like I said, just try and exercise a little patience with this one. It is gonna by far be the most tedious of them all, but we're almost there, so let's not give up yet. So first step, back in your cloud platform, make sure you're in your proper project. We're on our virtual machine instance page. You all should be familiar with this by now, and we're going to connect into our SSH. And we're going to go ahead and minimize these things. So there's two pieces of software that you guys are going to need to download. This right here, Putty and WINSCP. So in the description I'm going to include the links to the two particular pages. So these here are Google Cloud Platform kind of quick start guides, help documents. The links will take you right to where you need to be. There's a link here to this Putty generator program. I'll show you real quick. It's going to install it on your system here, and it's going to install a handful here of different Putty applications. The one we're going to be concerned with is this Putty Gen, which is a key generator. The second one also gets installed, WinSCP. I obviously already have these installed, so what I suggest you guys do, you're going to have to go to this Putty generator page. So here we go. You guys go here, and depending what version of Windows you're running, 32-bit, 64-bit, you guys, hopefully if you're getting involved in starting a web server, you should pretty much know how to install software on your system, I would assume. But nonetheless, install the proper version for your version of Windows that you're running. We'll step back a page, and then over here is another link I've also included, which is to this WinSCP. Right here also on this page, it's a link that takes you to the WinSCP page. Go ahead, downloading, and it's pretty straightforward from this point. These are both free, once again free open source software programs, no cost involved. They do accept donations if you're feeling especially giving. But nonetheless, these are the two pages. Download WinSCP, download Putty, and then we can carry on with what we need to do. So since I have both of these programs already installed, the first one we're going to go with is this Putty Gen. So go ahead and open it up. I'm gonna also get into here so we can kind of follow along with what's going on. What's the best way for me to do this? Well, it won't let me do it. Let me make this a little easier to work with here. bear with me for a moment. I'm trying to set this up so we can see what's going on. Alright, so here we are. Here's our Putty key generator. And we'll go back over to here. So what we're doing is we're establishing a key pair. What that means is, in order for us to download the files that I have on my computer here, on your computer, these are all the files that are associated with the actual website. So in order to download, well, I should say upload actually would be the proper term, to upload those files onto our web server, we need to install these two pieces of software, Putty and WINSCP. Putty generates a key, so it's a secure transfer. Basically, it's saying that, okay, the key for our Apache server matches the key for my workstation. Go ahead and exchange files securely. In a nutshell, that's what it's going to be doing. The steps here are pretty straightforward, so I'm gonna run through them with you. So we're gonna start right here. Download Putty, install it, run it. We have it running. So generate. We're gonna generate a key pair. Here, generate some randomness by moving the mouse. Keep moving your mouse back and forth, and it gets it done pretty quick. If you stop moving your mouse, it just kind of stops. So keep moving your mouse. Okay, so there we go. This is the key that is generated. Step 4. Right here. In the key comment section, enter your Google username. The key should have the following structure. So we're going to erase this comment. And if you can remember from the previous video, you should have some familiarity with your Google username and using it within these programs. So Tone is our username in the following structure. So what this means here. It's showing the structure of the key. SSH RSA. There that is right there. Key value. Key value is all this other stuff. By the time we get to the bottom, username. There's our username. So we have a valid key structure. We're going to scroll on down. Save private key is our next step. Save private key. Are you sure you want to save this key without a passphrase? We don't need a passphrase. Yes. To make it simple, and we know everything's located, I'm going to store it in my Feral QC main folder. We're going to give it a name of private key save. So it's going to save as private PPK. There it is right there. Next step, click on save public key. We're going to save public key. It doesn't save it in a PPK format. That's strictly for private keys, but nonetheless, just keep it simple. Name it public, save it. Show you again. There it is. It's got saved in our directory. Okay, so go to the metadata page for our project. Alright, I'm gonna maximize this. So what we're gonna do now, where you can find that as, we're still in our compute engine. If you guys remember, you pick this menu, compute engine. Down here is metadata. So we're gonna pick that. We're gonna pick SSH keys. And it's going to tell you right here, click SSH keys to show a list of project-wide SSH keys. We're going to click the edit button so we can modify it. We're going to copy and paste the key that we created, and then we're going to save it. So We're going to go back here. Here's our SSH keys. We want to edit. Here's the new key. We're going to go back into our key generator, and like I had said, we're going to copy everything that it created here. Copy the whole thing. And we're going to enter into this field. Here, I'm sorry. Add item. You see how the colors changed here. So we're going to paste that key into there, and we're going to save it. Okay, done. Created our key. There it is. It's our public key that got saved. Next step. This is saying use Putty to connect your instances. We're actually going to bypass that, and this is where we're going to jump on over to the WINSCP program. So I'm going to read it briefly for you. The WINSCP uses the same key files that you use with Putty. So those are the same key files we just created. We're going to use in this WINSCP. So we're going to close that out. Show the desktop, and we're going to open WINSCP. And what we're going to do is move this up a little bit. We're going to open this back up. So here we're going to follow the steps. Once again, you know, Google did a great job of just making it pretty straightforward, and hopefully with me walking you through this, it makes it even a little more straightforward. So, number one, if you're not yet applied a public key to your cloud, we've done that. We downloaded and installed WINSCP. You should have done that by now. Start the program. Find your external IP for the instance. And first of all, we're going to change this to SCP. So right there, set file protocol to SCP. In the host name field, specify the external IP address. Also, from the other videos, you guys should kind of be familiar at this point with your external IP address. I still have it here in my cheat sheet notes, so we're going to copy. We're going to get back into here. We're going to paste it. There's our external IP address. Let me get back into here so we know what's going on. In the username field, specify the Google username that you use to access your project. We should also be pretty familiar with that by now. Google username for me is Jovantone. Enter yours accordingly. Jump back over to here. Now we're going to click the advanced drop down menu. That's right here. And we're going to pick advanced, and we're going to go to authentication. Private key file. We just created that private key file, which is right here. I don't know if you remember. Oh, I'm sorry. It's here in our Pharrell QC folder. This is the key, PPK key that we just created. So we're going to pick it. And let me scroll down a little bit just to make sure we're all good. Oh, click OK to save the advanced settings. OK. So we're ready to go here. Log in. Continue connecting to an unknown server and add its host to the cache. Yes. And there we are. Bingo. So this is a big step. So what we're doing here now, here's our local workstation, which is my computer. Let me clean this up a little bit. We're just looking at this. So on this left side pane, this is our local workstation. This is my computer. It's currently showing the documents folder. Now this is showing the home Jovantone directory on our Apache server, virtual Apache server that we created. I don't know if you remember me in a previous video, video 3, touching on permissions. You know, write, read, execute. That's some of the permissions I was talking about earlier. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to, this one folder, our folder that contains all of our elements here for our website. And we'll go up a level. We're going to copy this over. Shouldn't take too long. And just bear with me here because we're almost done. This is pretty much the last couple of steps here and everything should be good to go. So now that everything is copied over, you know, it'd be great to keep using this program. I'm sure you're going to ask the question here in a minute when you see what we got to do. You know, why can't we just, you know, here navigate through our server and, you know, copy and paste files? Even though we set those permissions and set the ownership, there's just something with the way it's set up that, to be honest, I mean, from what I think it's kind of an incompatibility thing. You know, I'm working on a Windows machine, whereas our server is naturally a Linux environment, so we kind of get some compatibility issues there. So we're gonna close this out. We're done with the WinSCP program. It's done its job. We set up the keys, it's verified the keys, it transferred our folder over. At this point, it's kind of no use to us. I'm going to terminate the session. And we are almost there, folks, so we're going to get back into we're going to get back into our Google Cloud Platform engine. So we want to go back to VM instances. We're going to connect back into our server, bring up the command terminal, and I'll show you guys how to transfer the files to their proper place on the server, and we should be good to go. Within a couple minutes here, we'll have a live site on the internet with you know, a little work put in, but it's easy on the pockets. I guess that's the whole point of this video, trying to show you guys, you know, there's other options out there. So here we go. Now we're going to start off like usual, super user do, SU, we want to get root permission. Now this is where I mentioned it gets a little tedious. Just stick with me through this, follow the commands, and we should be good. But there's quite a few commands here. I've also, you know, I have the cheat sheet with the Apache commands. You know, I'll try and put these, well, not try, I'll put these in the description. Hopefully they'll be of some use to you. But okay, let's go. So we're going to be navigating through. So right now it's showing us we're in the home directory with Tone. If I do a ls, that's going to list what other, well, I'll show you here. So we're going to change the directory to, now beware here, this is case sensitive, so it might throw you off a little bit. Just follow along and we should be all good. Case sensitive, so we're going to change directory to Feral QC. We're going to list it. There's our contents. Those are all the folders and things that I need to be in there. We're going to do a CD. That's going to take us back to our root directory. Okay, so sorry for the brief skip between portions of the video. There was something I had to get straightened out before we continued on, so we're ready to go now. This is the last and final couple steps. We'll be done here in pretty quickly. So we're going to start copying the files over. So for individual files, we're going to do CP copy. We're copying from the VAR www FARRELL QC. Be mindful of You know, be mindful that this is case sensitive. Backslash, we're going to copy the file main.css, and then we're going to be copying it to, put a space, we're going to be copying it to var www html. Close it, enter. Just to verify, so you guys see how that worked, we issued copy command. You don't put the option of recursive in here, which was that hyphen and the R that I went over earlier. For a file, we're just doing copy. So we're here, we can do list directory, and we see that it copied our main.css. I'm going to go back into here. Remember, I told you can, from a blank command prompt, you can press the up arrow, which brings back the last command. Press it again, second to last command. And we're just going to keep plugging in information here. There's one more file I want to copy. That would be favicon.ico. Enter. We're going to bring this up again, and now we're going to change this up a little bit. We are now going to add the option of recursive, which means we wanted to copy a folder or a directory and all of its subdirectories or files under it. So when you're doing just a single file, you just do the CP without the dash and R. When you're copying a whole directory, we're going to put the hyphen and the R. So I'm going to move on over. If you dig back a little bit, where is it at? Up here. I know it's kind of hard to distinguish this stuff. So this is how I know what I'm plugging in here, and you guys can do the same thing. If you kind of followed through these steps, you get into your, to the directory that we copied over from our workstation. You do an ls command, which lists everything in that directory, and you see what files are there. If you're playing with this, you'll get the hang of it. The ppk file we don't need. That was our key. We copied over favicon. You're going to do the same thing with index, just like you did with main.css. I had just happened to already copy the index file over. So now the rest of these are directories: CSS, fonts, images, JavaScript, JS, public, web fonts. So the last 5-6 steps here are just going to be to copy these directories over, and that'll be the end of this. So back down over here. So we put our recursive switch in here, and we'll just move on over to the first folder. So we know it's CSS. That's the first directory here that needs to be copied. Enter. And just to double check, you can always do list directory, and there we go. We see that it copied the CSS, copied the favicon, and let's get back to where we were. So CSS is done. Next folder is going to be fonts. And just for timely purposes, you get the idea. Next one we're going to do is fonts. The next one we'll do is images, and so on and so forth. Then that one, and so on. So I'm going to jump back down over here. So fonts. It's the next folder that we want to copy. Fonts. Execute it. Bring back the command. Going to now go with images. Execute it, bring it back up. After images, we have the JavaScript folder, and you guys kind of should get the idea by now. And this is what I meant by tedious. It's just a handful of extra little things you have to do here, but it pays off once you see the final product and it's all working. And you got to learn something along the way, it'll be well worth it. So public, and last but not least, web fonts. Get on over here, web fonts, and if everything goes our way, that should be it. We can minimize this, and just so you guys know what's going on here. Hopefully you should know what's going on by this point. It's late at night, and as you can see, I'm kind of getting off track a little bit. We just copied everything over. We're going to go into a web browser, and this is going to be a raw version of the site, but here we go. We're going to for lqc.com, hit enter, and it should bring us to our page, and there we go. This is a very rough, unfinished version. I just started putting this together. There's a lot of alignment and things to do. I have a little picture carousel in here. I just plugged in any old pictures, and like I said, depending how these videos go over, maybe I can throw some more videos up on this whole next process of working with HTML and CSS and putting a web page together for yourself. But on a final note, anyone that needs some carpentry work done, give us a call. And thanks for joining me. And one final thing, just so you guys can see how it works, we'll also do the triple W. And once again, there it is. So I appreciate everyone for joining, and hopefully y'all learned something, and happy adventures. Bye.